Next up, a session brought to you by our underwriter, Aflac.
My name is Brent Good. I am the market director here for Tennessee, and I'm excited to be here today.
We're really thrilled to see how my special Aflac duck will help these kids.
Come on, Aflac, let's go!
Please welcome to the stage Catherine Blades, Aflac's Senior Vice President, Chief Communications and ESG Officer.
Good morning. On behalf of all of us at Aflac, thank you so much for being here and supporting this very important initiative. Over the past 24 years, Aflac has donated over $131 million to the research and treatment of pediatric cancer. But we know it takes more than medicine to make a child well and happy and healthy, which is the goal of all of us. And that's what we're here to talk about with you today with a child life specialist from the Aflac Cancer Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Please join me in welcoming Lindsay Carrick.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thank you for being here. Before we start, I have to apologize for my voice. Actually, sometimes it does take medicine, and my doctor gave me some liquid medicine that is very interesting, and I just took some before I came out on stage. So this interview may be more interesting than we had planned even, so bear with me. Wow, for those who don't know, what does a child life specialist do?
So a child life specialist is a coping supporter and an advocate for patients and their families in the hospital setting. So we recognize that being in the hospital is innately stressful and involves a lot of challenges that patients and their families aren't used to. So a child life specialist is someone who helps them get familiar with what those experiences may be and build the coping skills to get through them to make their treatment experience as easy and empowering as we possibly can.
Right. I mean, you meet with people when it's literally the worst day of their lives, right? They've just heard your child has cancer, and that's where you come in. So what is a typical day like for you? I can't imagine anything is typical, but
Yeah, no day is the same, but my day involves looking at the spread of needs among the clinic where I work and trying to meet those as best I can. So it may look like going to meet with a patient before they get a needle poke or a port access to help them get through that scary experience. It might look like just bringing play to a child to help them have fun and still get to feel like a kid amidst all of the things that we're asking them to do. Or it might look like just teaching them, you're going to go to this surgery. What will you see? What will you feel? So that even though it might be challenging, they know what to expect.
wow, and I know that you are a star. Absolutely. So what is the most common unmet need for these patients and their families?
I think for a lot of patients, the treatment experience can be very isolating. It can feel like you're the only one who is going through what you're going through. Like your friends don't understand because they've never had cancer. They've never had to go through these treatments. So sometimes we can do our best to meet the emotional and coping needs of these patients, but they can still feel very alone. So there's a lot of strategies that we can utilize to just help them feel that sense of community and belonging, whether it's, connecting patients on the unit with similar interests or involving them in local camps or organizations to help them just feel understood.
So important. So when we talk about more than medicine, as you know, Aflac has made a commitment to put a My Special Aflac Doc into the hands of every child newly diagnosed with cancer in the United States that is age appropriate, free of charge. You've worked with My Special Aflac Duck and these children. What have you observed and what are the benefits?
So the My Special Aflac Duck is a really great tool to use in my practice just because of the many different facets that it has. One of my favorite benefits of using the tool is creating that opportunity for emotional expression. There are so many patients who, have all these feelings of sadness, of fear, of anger, and they don't have those tools yet to understand appropriate ways to let those emotions out and to deal with them. So this duck has the different emotion faces that you can wave across the duck, and the duck will actually act those emotions out. So, for kids as young as 3 or 4 who are still learning what an emotion is that they feel, this duck has an incredible way to say, here's how I feel today. And then that really helps me open up the lines of communication to say, okay, you're feeling happy today. Great. What's making you happy? Or you're feeling really scared today. Let's talk about why that is and how we can make that better.
Yeah, it really is important because everybody speaks emoji, right? But if you're 3, you might not understand what it is you're going through. There is another program that I find just so beautiful and special. And we didn't talk about this, but I know you're familiar with it, and that's the Beads of Courage program.
Yeah.
Would you tell our audience a little bit about that? It's very special.
It is. So the Beads of Courage program is a bead program designed for patients with cancer and patients going through other medical illnesses, where each bead color represents a specific experience associated with their treatment. So there's a black bead that represents every poke. There's a yellow bead that represents every night they have to spend in the hospital. So every time a patient undergoes that specific experience, they get to collect a bead. So by the end of treatment, for many patients, they have just rings and rings of beads. And it's just a really powerful visual to show patients, yeah, what you've been through is really hard, but look at everything that you've overcome. So it's a really great program and a nice reward for patients to, okay, you had to do your poke, but let's go get that bead. And so for some kids, that can be motivating.
Well, and it's the visual representation of what they're going through. Actually, when we launched My Special Aflac Doc at the Aflac Cancer Center last September for Childhood Cancer Awareness Month, we actually had a Beads of Courage station set up so the children could make necklaces that mirrored their own for their ducks.
That's so cool.
It was pretty incredible.
Yeah.
So tell me how you feel personally when you see these children engaging with the duck and how it helps.
I love getting to watch patients interact with the duck, especially when it's introduced for the first time. You see their face kind of just light up, and they get so excited to know that this duck is their cancer companion. It's something that can go with them to all of their treatments. They can access their duck's port after their port's been accessed, so they have that time to kind of practice what they've gone through and give them that sense of control. I feel like the duck is a great sense of comfort for patients too. So it's really cool to watch the bonds that can grow between patients and that duck, and it, for some, it kind of becomes their little best friend that they bring to every visit.
So I have to ask, your job is so incredible and so important and so demanding. I can only imagine the toll it must take on you personally. So if you don't mind me getting a little personal, how do you and how do your peers and how do you recommend others who do what you do stay charged, if you will? You've got to have some way of recharging.
Yeah. I think you can't enter into the field of working with pediatric oncology without having your self-care regime, because it can be really emotionally taxing to, be with these patients and families on their worst days or at end of life, and to know that these are people that you've grown very close to. So for me, I try to work really hard to separate, my personal life from my work life so that I can kind of protect my heart a little bit. But at the end of the day, those positives, those little moments of silliness with the duck or getting that bead that they worked really hard for, those are the things that really balance out the challenges for me and make it all worthwhile.
Protecting your heart, and you help so many hearts. Ladies and gentlemen, please, a round of applause for Lindsay Carrick. Thank you for being here, and thank all of you for being here.